Hey, what's up, everybody? He's Indian Cowboy. I'm Scott Spreitzer. We are DocSports.com's White Chocolate. You heard me right. For the weekend starting March 6th, right through this upcoming weekend, we're going to cover a little bit of everything NBA, college basketball, some Major League Baseball wins totals with baseball just around the corner, preseason underway, spring training. Before we get to all of that, real quick note, if you're not yet a member at DocSports.com, click on the link below the video. Get yourself set up for that free $60 account. Then you can use those free $60 on any of our daily packages over at DocSports.com. Good to see you, IC. I know we weren't able to do the show last week. Been a couple of weeks since we've actually talked a little bit in person here, but it's been a nice couple of weeks. I love this time of year. I don't know about you, but I've done a bunch of shows just the last couple of days, Visa and places like that, talking about how you do in March, how you do in late February. What differences do you do as far as your college basketball handicapping? I think you and I talked about it a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to throw something at people real quick here, and we'll get into the show. I love to look at small conferences in college basketball for their conference tournaments and look to play on teams who swept a two-game season series against their opponent, as long as their metrics were dominating. These teams don't normally win that third meeting if they got wiped out the first two meetings. And a lot of times they're played on neutral courts, some of these minor conference tournaments. And so you get a situation where you don't have to lay a premium. We saw it on Wednesday night with Fairleigh Dickinson. 3-game sweep now over the opponent. They wiped them out. They beat them by 15, laying 3.5. So just throwing it out there for people, don't think that extra motivation of losing twice is always the way to go when it comes to these small conference tourneys.
Yeah, I absolutely love to take teams that look, you saw Boston College and Clemson today. You know what I mean? They put in their last hurrah and stuff. And I always look for teams that lost 2 times in the regular season. And then during the conference tournament, they show up and they beat them. And it's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, no matter how bad you are. So, yeah.
Good stuff. I want to talk about the Knicks and Lakers, which is a Thursday night game. We're, of course, cutting this video late Wednesday night. The Lakers open like 2. When I was doing a show at VSiN earlier on Wednesday night. And it's funny, it was like one book with low limits that opened at 2. And I'm like, going, are you kidding me? I was like looking at my line service. And so, of course, after we talked about it on the show, 45 minutes later, all the books pop out with a 3.5. I got a feeling I see that this is going to be a game where it's going to be kind of one-sided with the casual bettor who walks into a book in Las Vegas for some entertainment. They plunk down some money. Problem is, I kind of agree with it, man. The Lakers laying the points over the Knicks. I just keep looking at this Knicks team as a team that is not able to hang with elite level opponents on the road. And I'm going to talk about the Lakers for just a second. I don't think they're an elite team when the postseason rolls around because they don't have an interior defender. We've talked about that, IC and I, since that Doncic trade was made. But they're playing elite style basketball for the regular season right now since the trade. And if you look at the Knicks, I see on the road against the top tier teams in this regular season, they've lost 7 of 10. And I'm including Indiana and Memphis in that mix. Those 7 losses came by 17 points per game. They got killed by Boston twice, a couple of double-digit losses, including one by 23. And they got just absolutely spanked by the Cavaliers. So even though I don't think the Lakers are going to go super deep in the playoffs, I do like him in this kind of setting on Thursday night.
Yeah, I'm shocked that the line's only 3.5, to be honest with you. Given how well the Lakers have been playing lately, the Lakers have they've covered 4 in a row and 6 of their last 7. Even the New Orleans game, they were only favored by 8 points. The books keep hoping the Lakers don't do well, and they keep winning. Even against the Clippers, right? They beat them by 4 points. The next game, they were a 2.5-point dog.
Sure.
Right? They were a dog in that game because the Clippers had immediate revenge from their previous loss, and yet they ended up, Lakers ended up winning that game too, and they won Minnesota. They covered that 6 there. They covered against Dallas. I'm sorry, they fell short against Dallas covering-wise, but that was a big line. And they've won 7 in a row. I think what I like in this game, I like the fact the Knicks lost to Golden State in their last game because they were looking ahead to this game. And they gave up 114 in that game, which is pretty high for them, I guess. That's the highest total they've given up in the last 4 games or so. I think this game goes under, and I could look awfully dumb. It's easy because in a primetime game, you expect it to go under because everybody's going to be on the over. 85% is on the over in this game. You
Wow,
know,
already, yeah.
but that just means every schmuck is going to win. I mean, it's just so funny, you know. That just means every schmuck's going to win. They're all going to bet the over. They're all going to win, you know. But what I would say is I like the under because these two teams just faced each other last month, and the Lakers won 128 to 112. And Tom Thibodeau is still the coach of this team. So I think he's going to be like, we're going to get after these guys. And, you know, let's see how the Lakers do when the Knicks come in here and they're going to want to play some defense, right? The Knicks are going to be, no one's expecting the Knicks to win. Not, you know what I mean? So I think
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're going to come out here and they're going to try to really play some lockdown defense and really get after it. So I'm going to take the under. I don't really trust. I can't go against the Lakers at this point. I just can't do it.
It's a good thing we landed on white chocolate because I was thinking after what you said, we could have been the regular schmucks. I would have been against the show anyway. So yeah, I mean, I'm looking at the Lakers still at 4 or less. You like the under, and I get it. By playing the Lakers here, I'm going to be on a very popular side, and that's always worrisome. Wins totals in Major League Baseball. We got the season just around the corner here. I'm going to throw it at you, I see. And then you come back with one of your own here. The Cleveland Guardians under 82.5 is minus $1.15 right now on that under. And it seems to be getting more popular as we get close to the actual start of the baseball season, this under. I've seen a lot of sharps talking about this, and I jumped on it a couple of weeks ago. Very fortunate team last year. They combined, if you combine that with some of the changes to the roster, their good fortune last year, then I think Cleveland is going to struggle this year. They went through some cost-cutting measures this off season, and I think it's going to hurt. Josh Naylor's gone. He's in Arizona. They lose Andres Jimenez to Toronto. That departure leaves a big defensive gap in the middle of the infield. Starting pitching was nothing special last season. Remember, they were bottom third in FIP, and this was a middle-of-the-pack team, and they don't have Boyd. They don't have Cobb. They've moved on. Really helped them last year. And then offensively, if you look at the key metrics, and they're middle of the pack or worse last year, their WOBA, weighted runs created plus, slugging percentage, all that stuff was around 16th or 17th in the league last year. And even their team batting average was weak, 22nd in baseball. Now they don't have that clutch hitter in Naylor who covered up a lot of deficiencies when he came up to the plate. He had a personal 118 weighted runs created plus mark and 31 home runs to go along with him. He's gone. The pin wore down late last year in the season. I don't even think they get to 500. I actually like them under 82.5. So it's been kind of a sharp move in Las Vegas the last 10 days. I don't think you're going to see a lot of public action coming in on that. And it's really kind of stayed at 82.5 for the last few days. I see you got a baseball total for us?
I do. I'm going to go to the National League. So that's kind of nice. You give your American League. I'll give a National League. I like the Milwaukee Brewers to go under this year. And I think you can find them around, let's see here. Yeah, you can find them around 82.5. And yeah, I think a lot of people like the over, but I really like the under here. Look, the Brewers won 93 games last year. They're not going to win 93 games this year, okay? Because the Cardinals have gotten better. The Cubs have gotten better. The Reds have really gotten better. Now that you got to take them seriously with Francona, they have Hunter Green, you know, and then you have the Pirates team that are on the rise too. I think it's going to be a dogfight in the NL Central, man, because you had a bunch of teams with 76, 77, 83 wins last year, and the Brewers won a bunch of close games, a whole bunch of close games, and I think that's why this win total is as low as it is. And and the Cubs did pretty well too, right? They got Kyle Tucker, they traded away, Cody Bellinger, if you will. But I feel like the Reds are a lot better. Their managerial situation is a lot better. I feel like the entire National League is a lot better too. And I think that's going to hurt the Brewers in the long run. And I like Milwaukee to go under 82.5 wins this year.
Hope you're right, because one of my plays is on the Cubs over 85.5. So I'm not going to be disappointed if the Brewers, are a notch or two down from where they were last year. I agree with your thoughts. Saturday college basketball. It seems like we're always talking SEC, but my gosh, it's the best conference in the country. And they've got a bunch of teams that are going to be vying for Sweet 16, Elite 8 type of appearances, and a couple, obviously, that have a chance to get to the Final Four. So Mizzou goes into Norman, Oklahoma. I did a free play on Mizzou, Oklahoma for Wednesday, and I lost. And I was looking early on at the Oklahoma Sooners. They could not miss. I mean, my gosh, the first 30 minutes out of 40 in that game, they were hitting like 65% or something crazy along those lines. They cooled off a little bit, but they had built a big enough lead to knock off Missouri. The line that's up here right now is basically a power rating line, so it might not be quite 4.5. But Missouri minus 4.5 over Kentucky is going to be real close to what that number will stand. What are your thoughts on this? Does Missouri bounce back? And it is their I think it's their senior night in Columbia, Missouri.
I mean, it would make sense that they do bounce back, but what I like about this game is I want to pull up some stats here. First of all, Dennis Gates could be very well he could be the coach of the year at this point, right? Because his team was, they're sitting 18th and 19th ranked in the country. They're 21-9. They were 8-24 last year. They went 0-18 in conference play. If you remember, they didn't win one conference game. Sure. And they actually started the year 0-19 in conference play, and they finally beat LSU. Missouri's lost back-to-back games, right? They lost to Vandy on the road. They lost to Oklahoma. They haven't lost 3 in a row all year. Kentucky rolls into this game, having beaten LSU, destroying them 95-64. And now they got to go on the road. But they did beat Oklahoma on the road. They did beat Texas on the road. I don't fully trust Missouri here. But, obviously they're going to play out of their minds too. But what I would say is that this team is, I wouldn't be surprised at all if this game goes over the posted total. I think there's going to be a lot of juice here. When Missouri does well, obviously they're a top 5 offense, right? They beat South Carolina 101-71 at home. They beat Alabama 110-98. So when they do well, the game goes over. And then at the same time, I like Kentucky to be an active dog. I think they're going to push the tempo in that game. And, obviously they come off a great defensive performance against LSU, limiting them to 64 points. That ain't going to happen against this team. And they gave up, and it was 83-82 against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma is not even nearly as good of a defensive team as Missouri, or offensive team, I should say, against Missouri. So I wouldn't be a bit surprised if that game goes over the posted total.
Boy, I don't know. Alabama, I thought I didn't play the game on Wednesday night, but they were down early and by a decent amount of points and looked like, if you had them, they looked like the wrong side for whoever who had them right from the start of this game. And they end up losing again. I think that's 4 losses in 6 games. And it's funny because the power rating for most went up a half a point after tonight's result. That quick, it went up a half a point from 8.5 to 9 in this particular game. So you've got this Alabama team that had Florida on Wednesday. They lose the game. They lost by 9 at home to Auburn earlier this year. They were down 14 at one point in the second half, stormed back to get it and make it interesting to get it close. But they couldn't overcome Auburn's perimeter defense. And if you look at the teams that knocked off Alabama this year, it was a situation where they were able to really slow down Alabama's 3-point shooting. And up until the last couple minutes of the game on Wednesday night, it was happening again. Florida shut down their 3-point shooting. And although they shot well against Missouri from the 3-point line, that's the night they gave up 110 points, and they looked just completely drained off that loss to Auburn. The problem is you got an Auburn team here that's 10th against the 3. And I was really hoping Alabama would get by Florida on Wednesday night, so I could come back and play Auburn. Now I'm just sitting there kind of thinking, you know what? I lean Auburn, but I'm not as confident about it because Alabama's got to have a feel-good game about themselves. They got to get it together after this last few games.
Yeah, they're going to come in pissed. They're going to be super pissed coming into this game. And because, I don't think they've lost 3 in a row all year. They haven't. So they've only done that twice. They lost to Auburn and Missouri, and then they had that feel-good game against Kentucky. The only thing is that this feel-good game is on the road at Auburn, right? So that's a little tricky. And then you have Auburn coming in, sort of pissed because they lost to A&M on the road. Sure. And when Auburn loses, they play fantastic defense. They lost to Florida, and then they held Vandy to 68 on the road. They lost to Duke, and then they held Richmond to 54. I think Alabama will come in here probably. Remember the last time these two teams faced each other, it went to 179. Right. I don't think it goes to 179 now. The Florida game, they went to 99-94. They're got to play a little bit better defense. I actually like a sneaky under here between Alabama and Auburn this time.
That's where I was going to go. As I was going to say, I kind of like the under in this game. Second meeting, Auburn's great with deep perimeter defense. I think Nate Oates gets after his troops enough to where they get a little bit more intense on the defensive end of the floor. So it wasn't too impressive against the Gators, and I think they bounce back a little bit here, not necessarily win this basketball game with you on the under there. So
I agree with you, Scott Spreitzer.
All right. Well, I like to hear that, IC, or Arun Shiva. I like to hear when we're in agreement. Listen, I wanted to mention real quickly before we wrap it up here, quick show this week. We're going to be here, each and every week. We're going to be talking about more March Madness as we get closer to the tournament. But I'm just going to let everybody know that, again, be careful of those teams in double revenge and those small minor conferences because they don't always come through. There's one I'm going against on Thursday. That's all I'm going to say. and it's likely going to be the top premium play for me on Thursday. I pushed, by the way, I had a 6-0 streak going with these plays in college baskets in I think it's 11-2 and 90-51 long term with college basketball top plays. I pushed on Wednesday night. I had Wisconsin -7. Now, hopefully, some people out there got it after it came down a half a point to 6.5. But for official recording numbers, it was 7 when we posted the games this morning. I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky to get the push because Wisconsin wasn't covering with about 4 minutes to go, 3 minutes to go, but they were up by 9 with 10 seconds to go, and they won by 7 for the push. So bottom line is I'll take it. It wasn't a loss. We've had a fantastic run. We'll look to keep it going. Man, I know you just were killing it with those 8-star plays. What's going on this weekend for you, or at least the next couple of days in baskets?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a good run right now. Yeah, the 8-star plays are, I don't know, I think they're 16-4 or something over the last 20. I was on a 5-0 run in college basketball. Missed to play Boston College under today. 12-5 run in college ball, around plus 3,000 run, and NBA is sitting around 18-10. The Blazers pushed today, but plus 4,300 run there. Soccer's on a plus 3,200. Daily props, plus 2,400, and So I mean, I feel pretty good. NBA season has been a winning season. College basketball winning 12 of 14 March Madnesses. I think baseball had popped plus 5,000 last year. So, nice. And NHL not so hot for me this year. That's not going as great, but NBA, college ball, baseball, props, soccer, all that's going well.
Yeah. Check it all out, by the way, folks, because baseball packages are up. If not yet, they'll be up in the next couple of days for all the guys. And had a winning baseball season myself too last year. It's my favorite sport as far as watching in person, man. I'm old, so I like to sit in the stands with a couple of buddies, have a couple of cold ones, talk BS back and forth throughout an entire game and not miss a single pitch. You got to love it for us old guys. Anyway, he's Indian Cowboy. I'm Scott Spreitzer. You can find all of our stuff over at DocSports.com exclusively. And we'll be back here with White Chocolate March 13th as we inch a little bit closer to the big dance and to March Madness. For IC, I'm Scott Spreitzer. You know what to do, everybody. Let's put him in the win column. We'll talk to you next week.